Okay, so we are on to the final steps of our self-portraits. Yay! And this is kind of putting on some of the final touches. Before we really jump in, I want you to do a double check and make sure you have all of these things. Okay? So first, I want you to check and make sure that your hair is not flat against your head. Make sure that it comes up off of your head so it doesn't look like it's painted on, even if you're a guy and even if you have your hair in a ponytail. Okay? Make sure that you have eyebrows. Okay? Make sure that they're a shape, not like one little stick, and they need to be as long as your eye. No teeny tiny eyebrows. Go ahead and double check that you have a neck and it is about as wide as the outside of your eye. Okay. Make sure that you have a reflection in your eye. And anything else that you might want to add. Okay. So your next step is you're going to just outline everything you want to keep in Sharpie. And once you're done with that, it'll be real easy to go back over it with an eraser and erase any of those lines. So if you can still see your line down the middle of your face, obviously we need to erase that. We need to erase any of these lines up in your head. We don't need to see your skull anymore. Okay, so make sure all the pencil marks are gone. We don't want anything except for our Sharpie. Okay, and this is a good time to really make sure that everything is how you want it to be, and that if you have any mistakes, you can go back and look at them and just outline in Sharpie what you want to keep. Okay, so you also need to make sure you don't have any sticks for hair. It should look like a shape, right? So there's still some pencil marks on mine, but basically you want to make sure those are all gone. Okay? So everything is outlined in Sharpie, and we're only using black. And then the next thing I want to talk to you about is something called weighted line. And weighted line is where parts of your lines are thicker. So obviously we're not going to do any shading on this, and we're not going to do any colors. So what we might want to do is add some thicker lines to help us see where things curve and where a shadow might be. Okay? So a good way to start with this is to decide that one side of your face is going to be the shadow side. So I'm just going to decide that this side of my face is going to be partially in shadow. So what I would do is just make this line a little bit thicker than the other lines. Okay? So I'm just going to make this line curve a little bit thicker than the other side. And if you look at that, it makes it look like there's a shadow on that side of her face. Okay? So that's a really easy place to start. So go ahead and decide which side of your face you want to be curved. And notice it kind of gets thinner as it goes. It doesn't like stop. Okay? So if you need to pause this video and do that, okay? You also might want to do that on the same side of like your nose. Okay? We could do that on parts of your eyebrow or parts of your hair that are turned. So it's all the same side that is turned away from the light. Okay? So I might make it darker under her hair, where there might be a shadow on this side, or on the side of her neck. Okay, and this is something that they do a lot in cartoons, because they don't have any shading, but lights might be, the lines might be darker or thicker in certain areas. Okay, so really take some time and do this, because it'll make your picture look a lot cooler. And this might be something you can do with hair to make it look more realistic. Okay, maybe it's got some lines up here that are thicker. Okay, so that is using weighted line to show some shadow. Okay, and if you've ever done like bubble letters where all one side of the letter is thicker, it's the same kind of thing. Okay, it makes it kind of look 3D, like it's popping out. And it's pretty easy, which is cool. Okay, so you can go into as much detail as that. You can even do it on lips. You can add, wherever there would be a shadow is where you would just make that line a little thicker. You really can't do it too much, honestly, because it looks cooler more and more you do. Okay? So, experiment with that, and that can really make your picture look cool. This also might be the time if you want to add eyelashes. Now, most people, you can't really see that many eyelashes just looking at them. So, ladies, do not make eyelashes all around your eye. You will look weird. If you have really long eyelashes, you might see like 1, 2, 3. Maybe a couple on the bottom, and they're just going to be like polka dots. Okay? You don't have to add eyelashes at all, because a lot of people can't even see them. Okay? So, just a couple. Maybe a few. Okay? If you want to make your eyebrows solid, you can. You could try to give them some texture. That's up to you. Or you can just leave them how they are. Yeah, that looks kind of silly. So, you might just want to leave them how they are. Okay? So, once you have done all of this with the Sharpie, which you'll probably need to pause this video and do all of that before you move on, okay, then we're going to move on to the last step, which is fun, and that's adding some color. So what you're going to do, you should have some tissue squares, okay, and you have to do this all in one day, so you have to cover your entire paper with tissue paper, okay? And remember, if you put an orange next to a blue, they're complementary they're complementary colors, so they're gonna make brown. Okay, so watch what you're doing, and make sure you don't do that. Put a yellow here. So some of these can overlap a little bit. That's fine. No big deal, but we really got to make sure we cover the whole thing. And you might use a decent amount of tissue paper for this. That is fine. Okay, so make sure everything is covered. And what you're going to do is you're going to have a cup of water and a paintbrush. Okay? And all you need to do is add water on top of these tissue papers. Okay? So the whole surface has to be wet. You can't just drip. Okay? You might want to start by dripping so that they stick to the paper and get flat. But eventually you need to cover the whole thing and then just let it sit for a couple minutes. You should not have a giant puddle. Okay? If you have a big puddle, it's just going to ruin your paper. So you want a happy medium here, okay? The whole thing has to be wet, but it doesn't need to be a pool, okay? So make sure the whole thing is coated with water, okay? Then you're going to put this on the drying rack with the tissue paper still on it. And next time you come to class, we'll take the tissue paper off, okay? So leave the tissue paper on very, very carefully. You're going to pick it up with 2 hands and slide it into the drying rack, okay? This might be a little messy, so make sure you have time to clean up. You'll go back to your seat, wipe up any water, anything like that. Now, you shouldn't have to clean out the paint cups because there's no paints in them. So just pour out the water and put it on the drying rack. Put your paintbrush in the cup. Okay? And then you'll be done with this project. And these look really cool once you take the tissue paper off. It's really fun. So, good luck with this, and I'm excited to see them.